What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. So, as of this weekend, the next Challengers has been legal, and I want to talk today about the card that, in my opinion, is the most underpriced and underrated card in the entire set, and that card is, of course, Denko Sekka. Denko Sekka is the light level 4 Thunder-type monster with 1700 attack and 1000 defense, whose effect reads, cannot be special summoned. While you control no set spell or trap cards, neither player can set spell or trap cards, nor activate spell or trap cards that are set on the field. Now, this card is, I think, incredible in faster decks that do not rely on their normal summon as much. For instance, Clifforts, or Neckloths, or Burning Abyss. The reason is because going into Game 2, your opponent is going to have a huge number of outs, mostly set spell or trap cards, that are going to be able to get around your big plays. For instance, you are going to be seeing against Burning Abyss things like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, or against Clifforts, you're going to see players using MST, or Cursed Seal of the Forbidden Spell. Or in Neckloths, your opponent's going to have just a ton of back row trying to get rid of your plays before they can happen. And the thing about normal summoning Denko Sekka is unless your opponent has the Warning or the Veiler, then your opponent cannot do anything for the rest of that turn. Your opponent has to have an out for Denko Sekka, and there are very few of those in the game right now, or you get a free turn to do whatever you want. For instance, I'm currently a Cliffort player, and I want to run Denko Sekka because in Game 2, my opponent's going to, of course, have their various things, but if I open with Denko Sekka and even just Cliffort Tool, but even better if I have a Trampolinx, I can do tons of plays in a turn for absolutely free without my opponent having the chance of responding to it. I just summon the Denko Sekka. If they don't have the out to Denko Sekka, I activate my tool. I get the search off of it for a Cliffort monster. I activate the Trampolinx, special summon that Cliffort monster, and then use Trampolinx to get tool back, and then I can get Sacrifice. I've gotten tons of utility out of that one turn, even though my opponent has possibly all the set outs they need, just because I started out by normal summoning Denko Sekka. In Neckloths, this is going to be even more so the case, because they don't even use their normal summon nearly as much as any other deck in the game at the moment. If you get your ritual summon, then you really don't need your normal summon. So you normal summon that Denko Sekka, and your opponent cannot make outs for the rest of your plays for that turn, unless they started off that turn with a Floodgate card, knowing the deck you're playing, and knowing that you have the possibility of running Denko Sekka, which at the moment nobody is doing, which is why I want to run in Clifforts, because nobody's going to be activating their anti-spell fragrances immediately, or nobody's running anti-spell fragrance, which is the only out to Clifforts while Denko Sekka is on the board, because they're just going to activate the anti-spell fragrance at the beginning of the turn. Nobody runs that card right now in the meta. Now, if you look at ARGCS, there are very few decks that did anything that ran anti-spell fragrance, because it's just not as good an out as MST. And so you can run the Denko Sekka, and you have an out to all of your opponent's outs for your deck. In Burning Abyss, this is equally as much the case. But I'm not even saying that Denko Sekka's best application exists right now. I think that Neckloths are a big application for this card, and I think that we're going to be getting decks in the future that do really well with Denko Sekka. But I just think it's an amazing card right now, and it is worth way more than $12 to $13. I'm going to try running it in the near future. I have fairly high hopes for it, but I think that it's just an amazing card, and I think that you should try it in whatever deck you're running, as long as your deck doesn't rely too much on normal summon or set cards. That is one thing that you have to think about with Denko Sekka, is that if you run a lot of back row, it's probably not the card for you. However, if you have, say, a face-down Vanity's Emptiness or something like that, and you have a Denko Sekka on the board, and your opponent tries to special summon, you can activate that Vanity's Emptiness, and unless they still have the MST in their hand, they can't respond to it because you have Denko Sekka on the board, and that Emptiness was the only thing you controlled in terms of set cards, and now it's a face-up card. The same goes for if you want to MST a card during your opponent's turn, like if you're playing in the Cliffort Mirror match, and you summon the Denko Sekka and you have an MST face-down, then you can activate the MST targeting their Cliffort Scout, and they cannot respond because you no longer have face-down card. So there are a lot of combos, even beyond just the normal summoning it before you activate anything, that make Denko Sekka really freaking amazing. So you guys should talk to me about how you use Denko Sekka, and on next Monday, we're going to be talking about my other favorite card from the next Challengers, which is Knight Dragolich. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more decks discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.